Thank you.
I realized this is more of a snapping situation. You don't want to like go crazy, you know. It's like coffee house vibes for sure.
There's an entire audience like on the other half of the bus just watching,
Just
and
screaming.
just screaming. Yeah. There's a soundproof wall in the way. They can't. They wish they could be on it, but they can't. Unfortunately, that's okay though.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about maybe one day doing video on these as well. But you know how, I mean, we've all got a different method to how we do it. I think I'm gonna end up being like just the guest will be the one, and I'll be just like the guy behind the curtain. Nobody will know what I look like, kind of thing, you know.
Just with an anonymous mask on.
Oh my god, just like weird, like not even, just naked on the other side. Well, guys, welcome back. This is the Cream-based bus sessions. Cream is for, as most people know, cash rules everything around me, but in this case, it's creative art and music. We've got Josh Vanderveen as our guest today. He is a recording artist here in the Asheville, North Carolina area, and I'm very glad to have him on. Good friend of mine. We used to work at a guitar center together, and that's how we met. And you know, he's helped a little bit on the build. Actually, I don't know if we actually worked on the bus that day. We might have just like pedaled around, but it was nice to have you here. It's good. It's nice when you're like losing your mind in the dead of summer, like sweating a lot, just to like have friends around. So I appreciate it anyways.
And friends at Guitar Center where it's, you know, rotting your musical soul away. So
Yeah, totally. You know, I feel for the new manager there because, you know, the previous manager was with Guitar Center for like 17 years or something, you know, and you could see how it had kind of rotted away at him. Like he didn't play it all anymore. But the other guy, you know, he seems to still like post on Facebook about his new amps, and he's excited to keep playing. And I love to see that because it's hard when you're like listening to riffs all day.
Right. And you're talking about the material of music and not the substance of
Tone
music.
wood, bro. It's about the tone wood.
Right.
Totally the material. And I'm learning now with working with such a small space to have only the gear that's important to me around, and really kind of working with what I've got, you know. I think with a lot of times we fill our spaces and our time with new gear because it's exciting and it keeps us creative, which like more power to you if you pick up that new gear and it takes you to a whole new album that you didn't know existed inside your head, then all power to you. But I think a lot of times we find ourselves distracted in the tone that we're getting, or like what kind of reverb was it, analog, was it tape, like to a lot of people that aren't playing music all the time who just enjoy music, they have no idea.
Absolutely
They
not.
don't know
Yeah.
if you're going direct in or even what that means. So it doesn't matter. What matters is like you're getting it out on the books, you're making creative music that some might say that they relate to or push them to be a workout fiend or whatever, you know, inspire them to do something. And we think a lot of times when we make new music is like, what's the person on the other end going to be doing when they hear this? Are they going to be at a coffee shop? Are they going to be dancing and grooving? Are they going to want to take LSD and rave? Like, what exactly are they going to be doing to listen to this
and
music?
unless they have like the same issue of like, whoa, do I use, you know, this microphone? Do I really have to spend, you know, $2,000 for like an RE20 tape echo from the 1970s?
That sounds really great.
Unless they have that same thought process and honestly like cognitive issue in the way of their own creativity, they're not going to think about that. They don't care to listen to that. My partner like doesn't really. I like get excited about gear often because, you know, when you have a recording studio, you got to have gear to have a recording studio. So it's hard to not get excited about those things.
Totally. I'm learning to like love microphones now. I'm like very excited now that I'm doing these podcasts. I'm like ready to get an SM7B. Like that's what it means to be a professional in this industry now.
Right. But it's the tools that people really, they don't care about that. They care about, you know, the music, what comes through the tools rather than that.
And the bass.
Yeah, like it's like talking at a concert with my partner about like, oh, they have this pedal on their pedal board. And she's like, I don't care.
I catch
cool
myself.
that you see that, but
I catch myself a lot of times also like seeing what pedals are on the board, like more than anything, like amps, whatever. I want to know what's on the board,
Right.
like staring at it like it's my new Bible. Oh, okay, that's how they're getting that tone.
Yeah, it's all paints in the paint box. But
Totally.
if you're just looking at your paints and not putting paints on the canvas, then
I think that's exactly where I'm at right now. Is like I have all the paints to make awesome music. But I have to let it out of me. I have to like free myself of this cage where like it matters what I put on that paper, you know. And I think I still struggle with that a lot, but I'm learning to get over it. I'm starting to beat on the drums a little bit more and not worry about making sound or what people are going to think. It's just like, what do I think and what do I want to put on this track? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. My first question to you today was a pretty broad one, but like, what inspired you to pick up an instrument in the first place? Kind of like, at what point in your life did you pick up music and like start playing, and what was it?
yeah. So I guess I started fairly young. I mean, not super young, but I guess 11 years old. I started with like piano, and I was in my church choir. So piano and voice is kind of what I started out with, and I always sort of had like a musical proclivity, like as a kid. Like I have a distinct memory of this like Fisher Price like tape recorder thing that had like you put a cassette tape in it. It had like a microphone attached to it.
You're talking about the one on Toy Story? I'm pretty sure it's the same one on Toy Story.
Yes. No, I don't. This isn't like a weird. Like I hacked. There's actually.
Oh my God.
I don't know if it's the exact same one, but it was like it had like the handle and everything. I remember singing like Lion King into this and like recording like like the intro to Lion King, like just singing over it with this tape recorder. And I'm pretty sure it's not like a psychological thing that I'm just ripping out.
Would you
Toy
consider
Story.
that your first instrument? Yeah.
I don't know if my first instrument. I think voice is my instrument, and I think it's everybody's instrument, really. Whether you think
I had no idea. Like when we met, we'd pick up guitar together or whatever at the shop. But the first time that I came to your studio and we sat down and listened to one of your tracks, I was really flabbergasted. I was blown away. I was like, oh, okay, that's his tool for sure. Like the rest of this helps that one make the full impact, but like the voice is an awesome one for you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
For sure. Heck yeah. But you said you learned keys. You were in the choir at church. I think that's a big one for a lot of people getting into music is one, having an outlet of people around you who want to hear you play, who are inspiring you to play, or just like letting you unleash that creativity. And church is a big one for a lot of people. I think that even becoming gigging musicians or touring musicians, a lot of people start off and are really comfortable to play in that church setting, in that space. I think it really does give a really safe place for a lot of people to start thinking about that inspiration inside of them and like what that means.
Yeah, for sure. And it gives you, a sense of community too. I mean, I'm not religious anymore. I sort of kind of came out of that, going into college and, sort of my own journey with things. But, the biggest thing for, being in choir was not so much the music side of it, was just sort of the community aspect of it. And, the community really sort of brought out kind of the music in it too. So I think that's, especially in like a digital age where we become like very isolated and, we have, our own recording studios that like exist on our phone or on our laptop, it can be very easy. And I've been guilty of it too, but of just like hunkering down and, not collaborating and not like sharing that language of using it, just being our own sort of thing, which is
that's a very hard one for me.
Yeah.
I think that I get locked into this feeling of like, well, if I can't find a drummer to make this track, then I'm going to have to make it. And it's almost a negative connotation that I'm putting it in too, because
right.
now I feel alone. I've put myself in this box where I feel like I'm not going to find this guy who's going to want to come track drums with me or whatever, and like, it pushes me to be more creative, but I think it's coming from the wrong perspective. I think that I need to look at it more positively about the learning process in general of what I want to be is like a session musician, and what I have to do that is to learn all of these instruments. If somebody needs you to pick up and do this drum pattern, you should be able to do it, or a bass or whatever. And this next Sunday will be the first time I'll be recording a band on the bus, like full record some tracks with them, and I'm really excited. Kind of nerve-wracked, but they don't have a bass player, and I think I could do that for them, and I feel pretty confident that, like, if they give me a progression or give me, a melody or whatever they got, I could probably come up with some bass tracks for it. And I think that was like a really key moment for me, and feeling confident in what I do is like being like, okay, I do have the tools. Now I'm finally starting to put them to the use that I was always supposed to be. They weren't supposed to just sit around and not collect dust. And because I'm very like, I don't know, I clean everything all the time. Like my drum set, I don't even put it in the case until I've like cleaned it like I'm in band. So, but I get caught in these things that don't even matter, and the music isn't even happening. So
that's a good practice, though. Cleaning your equipment is a good thing.
I think we don't talk enough about the maintenance of having a lot of gear. Like people talk all the time,
True.
oh, I've got like 15 guitars. Okay, when do you tune them? When do you get around to doing 15 sets of strings? Like,
when do you set them up? Like
right. They're not. They're literally not.
Right. I have collected quite a bit of gear. I'm
What would you say is your most like prized possession? Like you wouldn't go into your studio if you didn't have that piece of gear. Like something that maybe you use all the time.
I mean, everything has like there's like two sides of the coin almost for a lot of this stuff, because there's like utility and then this like sort of like inspirational aesthetic like vibe.
I mean, having a Rhodes in your studio is like a big one.
Right. But I don't play it all the time. I honestly I play my like Nord keyboard more than the Rhodes, just because the Nord has more utility than the Rhodes. But like just the Rhodes sitting in the corner, being able to be played and like loud, and just the actual like tines vibrating against a magnet or a magnetic coil.
It's beautiful.
Is such a inspiring like concept that exists. But yeah, so I mean, honestly, I'd probably say, probably my Nord, just because I mean, just the piano in general is
right, and it's a utilitarian piece as well, and I think that it's something that a lot of people they kind of strive to get. Like if it was going to be like their forever keyboard, that'd probably be the one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got it on an amazing sale. I would not have it, by any means of my current success in music or my current financial success in the world at all.
Financial success? The what?
Non-existent.
In the world? No, none of that. No, we build school buses and travel around instead.
Exactly. And we buy lots of things off the Facebook market because it was from the 1950s and it was used to record audio. One thing I'm really excited about, and this kind of goes back to what you're talking about, maintenance, and I'm like just like dreading the day that it breaks down. But I have this this Ampex tape recorder that was like actually like brought on to movie sets, and someone just threw it up on the Facebook marketplace for super cheap, and I was like, what is that? And I did a little bit of Googling. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get this.
That's mine. I'm getting it right now.
But yeah, like the more thing, and I use it as like a bass pre, and it has this really thumpy, like low Motown sound that's just a lot of fun.
So is this like a preamp, or what is it?
Yeah.
Exactly?
Okay. Yeah. So it's a single channel preamp, and then it's like a tape deck.
So it was probably originally meant for vocals, maybe.
Well, it was meant to like take on to like movie sets, like you on location sound basically. So they would plug a microphone into that. You have like this tube preamp that goes and does like a mono track. By the way, for those wondering what's whistling and
it's also raining right now. We've got a lot of background noise, but we've gated a little bit of it. But
yeah, that's my dog Rue, and she's sweet, but she's bothered by cats right now.
It was all good. It was all good, and then it wasn't anymore. She's a good girl, though. We're glad to have her here.
Absolutely.
We'll have some questions for her as well. So another question I have is, how did you go from playing music, and I guess you kind of answered this question already, but like to wanting to record music as well. And like you even said, like you had this Fisher Price toy as a kid, and like that was a key moment where you had already started recording yourself at like such a young age. But like I'm sure that didn't like catch on. You're like, I'm recording now, you know?
Yeah.
So when did that become more of a priority for you to start really tracking it down?
Yeah, so I guess I mean I'll fill in quite a few gaps because I've been recording for probably 5 years now, and then that singing in choir was like 15 years ago. So that kind of decade gap is basically uh, got involved in theater at my school, got involved in musical theater, and then like had like a brief stint where I was like, I'm gonna be an opera singer, and then went back to like musical theater, and then went through that up till college, and then through college I kind of was like, I kind of want to sit back and not really do this performing thing so much. I want to sort of be on the other side of the table where I'm like either directing or writing. So at that point I really started to kind of get back into like my like piano chops, and like writing songs, and I had a bootleg copy of Logic Pro at the time, so that like kind of inspired that whole like, okay, I'm not gonna do my performing homework right now. I'm gonna go and just mess around on Logic Pro right now and make a track here. So yeah, there was that whole that whole period of time where I was sort of procrastinating from that performing side to, I don't know, develop, I guess, more of the artist side, which I still feel like.
Sure, like what your
in that
sound was,
headspace.
so to speak.
Yeah, and like even like kind of the intention, like
Okay.
one of the biggest things that, biggest hurdles as far as being a music artist has been like writing songs. The music has always been fairly straightforward to me. Okay, you have your chords, you can combine them, have different progressions, and it provides different moods, of course. But like putting words behind that was so intimidating to me, and that was the part where I really had to figure out like, okay, what do I actually want to say? Like what's that sort of vulnerability of like when you put words on page, and you're really I mean, I have a lot of like perfectionists like tendencies, and so seeing words on the page and like wanting to sing, because I'm was first and foremost a singer, trying to figure out what words to say to sing, right? So at that point I had to kind of step back and figure out, okay, what is this artist thing? Who am I? What do
I really resonate with that. I think that the hardest part for me, 'cause my sequence is drums, find a pattern, hit it with a bass, groove, fill it in, and then come over top with guitar. And the last thing that I'm thinking about always is lyrics. I think that I'm kind of starting to develop this like funk kind of style that I enjoy playing. But when it comes to lyrics for me, I don't want to commit. I don't want people to hear a feeling that I had and be like, this is the type of music that this person makes, Because what if I want to switch it up? Then you have to be there for the long run. Because what if I come out with a rap album? Now we're all screwed, So I don't know. I find this internal battle that if I start creating some kind of sad music, then what happens when I create a happy album? Am I going to like lose people that might actually want to listen because now I'm like not in this goth thing anymore, or like being like emotional or close to my emotions, I should say, I guess. So I have like one song where I actually put some vocals on it, and it wasn't like, I guess again, I wasn't trying to commit, so it was silly. I was like, get on up and move that thing, get on up, then move that thing, and it was like kind of silly and fun. And I think that I mask a lot of fear in my life with humor always, and so that's kind of like coming into my music too. Is like, well, what if I just make something silly just to get it out, And I think that's a good thing. You have to get it out,
Right.
And that's how you start. And even like just doing the podcasting. Being on a microphone talking is a huge step for me in my professional world, but as well as just getting out the creativity of being vulnerable and being comfortable enough to speak into a microphone and hear my voice back, and say, this is my voice, not being worried if I'm hitting the right notes or whatever. Like, it can be, and I think we started this conversation with you were like, I think everyone's first tool should be, their voice. And I think that it's a big moment for a lot of people, is being heard. A lot of people don't want to take up too much space in their day-to-day lives. Even they're quiet at work, or whatever. They don't, if they're out at a gathering, they may only say a few things. They're kind of just like watching on. And for musicians, this is the spotlight. When you put a microphone in front of your voice and you say your words that are meaningful to you, is one of the biggest moments in a lot of people's lives, I think, is like really solidifying their comfortability with themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a sort of like emotional and intellectual, confidence and freedom to just throw that out there, and even if it's like nothing, super emotional or super intellectual that you're putting out there, it's like, having the confidence just to use your voice takes guts, honestly.
Absolutely. France is doing it right now all at once. They're all using their voice. Been rioting for like months now. I'd be so tired.
Oh, shit. I haven't heard any of this.
Really?
No.
Essentially, it's a few different things, but one of the things was like the living or the retirement age went up a couple of years or something in France, and like the whole country is like completely losing it over it. Like, and as they should. Like, we don't stand up enough in this country because we consider ourselves free, and we're very lucky to not be like war driven, so to speak. Like, we don't have bombs going off in our front yard, so to speak, and
we're free to be satiated by our consumerist economy.
Totally, right there. And so I think that it's really cool to see anyone in a mass kind of like take charge and say, like, you're the government because we let you be the government, so like figure it out, because we're gonna have to if you don't. It's really cool to see. But kind of off topic, but good to know what's going on in the world sometimes. I was in the desert for about a month, and then I didn't really have service until we were leaving Arizona. I think this was like a month and a half. I did like not have service anywhere we were, so I was so disconnected, and it brought me closer to myself, which was really awesome. I started journaling more and getting closer to the gear and how to set it up quickly and what I was inspired to do with the gear available. And it was really nice to not be distracted by like whoever and whatever was going on, any kind of drama or whatever. But now I'm back in the real world, I guess, right now. And I'm figuring out certain things.
I just go through periods of like deleting Instagram and Facebook.
Felt cute, my delete.
It's just, it's like a mindfulness I've like been aware of like okay, I'm on Instagram, close the app. Okay, then like I put my phone down, I pick it back up like within 15 seconds without like thinking or like any intentionality. I'm like opening Instagram again. I'm like, I just closed this. I just did this. And so yeah, that's the moment I'll delete the app. And then someone will be like, hey, did you see? And I'm like, fine.
Oh god, the vicious circle of social media. And now we're like, we're trying to create a brand now ourselves. And so like with Cream Based Bus, we kind of found a niche. We know we've invested in ourselves with time and money to create this, essentially our ship to travel the continent in, which feels really awesome. But in a way, it's getting us closer to the social media thing. And so the last couple weeks, we've been really putting everything down, and it feels really good to do that. But I'm ready to get back into it again. I think that like we're missing out on our chance to keep growing this, because it is growing with everything that we're doing. Daniela's getting back into her art. I'm getting into the podcasting. and we're getting more comfortable with this small, tiny house living thing that we're doing. But we want to show it off too. We've worked really hard on this, and so the TikTok, the Instagram, the YouTube, they all facilitate a different part of what we're doing. So like the TikTok is more like fun, I guess, so to speak. It's like quick, kind of edgy, like this is what we got going on. We might like answer questions if people want to know about the build, or we don't really dig too deep, so to speak, on that one. And then the Instagram is really more of like a couples thing, so it's more cutesy. It's our photography stuff that we've acquired throughout, being on the road. And the YouTube is where we're really falling in love with the social media thing, like really digging in deep. We're using our best gear and our best knowledge of how to use that gear to get really great results cinematically. If you haven't checked out the YouTube, you guys,
I have to, yeah.
Cream-based bus. But we have a ton of fun making those because it really shows the professional side of what we do. It allows us a space to really get it out as like a movie setting. And for the people, of course, because it's entertainment and hopefully something that we can monetize. You only need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube to monetize. It's not much. Brand partnerships are, how you'll make the most money on YouTube. But with that being said, we're having a ton of fun with the YouTube, creating these like short little movies of like Arizona or Texas or wherever it is that we are. And in the end, it's really just going to be a video documentary of our lives for ourselves when we're older, and we want to show our kids like what we did with our time, and our grandkids hopefully will, God, MP6 will be out by then, I don't even know. They're like grabbing all the senses at that point. But I'm excited to get back into it because we're right now at about 350 subscribers on YouTube, and we've only been doing it for about 2 months. And so I think by the 6-month mark, we'll already be surpassed the 1,000-point mark. And I'm so stoked because I've seen people, and this is very it's confident in ourselves. We're doing something really awesome that I've seen a lot of people do on YouTube for years and still not quite figure it out. And we've already got a good grasp on it. We already know what the people want to see, what's going to keep them watching. We're not giving them too much, but we're giving them just the amount that we want. And I think we've got a really good grasp on it, and I'm excited to see that really like push forward in the next year, of like what it means to be a nomadic musician recording on the road, what it means to be an artist traveling on the road, and learning how to monetize ourselves, Right, I think that like, sure, money is not everything, but in a lot of ways it allows you to respect yourself when you're like, okay, well, I did this hard work and in return I got something. The exchange itself is like very rewarding for a lot of people. I think this is a good point to where if you want to play a couple more songs, you can.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you want to tell us what the first song was called?
Yes, that song is called...
that was Rue.
That was Rue playing the guitar.
She's playing the guitar.
Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. She's the guitarist. I just sing here.
Yeah. Haven't picked up the guitar at all.
But that first song is called Birdhouse. It has not yet been recorded.
So technically, this is the first time it's been recorded right there. There you go.
Yes, the first time it's been recorded in public. My like production process is like I'll do drafts and then throw those drafts away and then take months off and then forget everything I did in that draft and do another draft. So the song has been recorded a few times, but congrats on being the first people to hear it. This next song. This is a fun sort of edgy song about anxiety. Oh wait, I gotta hold on. Let me get a crunchier tone for this.
hear the feedback now.
Audible
It's gonna be
noise
crunchy.
Okay. All right, this song is called Awk, A-W-K. Why must I be so fucking awkward all the time? I'm spilling drinks on everyone. Too much gets said and then I stutter in the rhyme, and I choke like the game zero sum. Why must I be so fucking awkward all the time? I'm spinning wheels to catch the road. I get moving once they're past the finish line. Then it's all just a race with myself. Why must I teeter on the edge of sanity? Does my reflection have a name? Maintain perfection while preserved in fantasy, on the bench where I'm safe from the game. Yet I still manage to start out an optimist, though what I need I can't explain. My words like dragonflies just quiver on my lips, and I brace for the bees in my brain. Well, I'm hitting low, but aiming high, 'cause I know I'll lose when I'm too scared to try. Maybe too late to catch the train, so I go back up the stairs to my room and wait for a better day.
Beautiful.
Thank you. This is a song I wrote last New Year's, and it's kind of got that vibe to it. New Year's resolutions and all.
Okay.
Wind chimes of the right times, a January snow, and hazy winter glow reveal the best intentions. Fresh start with an old heart that has yet to learn the truth, but still yearns for better proof to carry out a change. Sunshine in a gold mine, illuminate your eyes to the you analyze, that taxing acquisition. This new year I fear will be the end of sorrow. This new phase I hate will turn me into gold. This new chapter I am after will take every turn that I want and begin a new conclusion. New life and a new wife, the weeping willow stays and sways on windy days, sweeping up the snow. Ideals and the old thrills still bottleneck the change as intentions rearrange. The old plan is forgotten. Rainbows over landmines meet me on the other side of this This new year I fear will be the end of sorrow. This new phase I hate will turn me into gold. This new chapter I am after will take every turn that I want and begin a new conclusion. This new year I fear will be the end of sorrow. This new phase I hate will turn me into gold. This new chapter I am after will take every turn that I want and begin a new conclusion.
Appreciate you sharing that one.
Yeah.
That was good. I like the second song that you did there. It was very relatable and like kind of fun, you know. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that song's, I mean, you know, everyone has the kind of trope about New Year's resolutions, right? Where it's most likely not going to turn out that way. So that was a song about, you know, change and how hard it is to make change in your life, and how often it never it doesn't happen when you put too much pressure on yourself to change.
I'm trying to learn that myself, like not not putting too much pressure on the process, 'cause I think that that's what's kind of ends up holding me back, 'cause I end up feeling displaced instead of feeling like confident in just where I'm at. 'Cause if I'm always striving for the future, you're not thinking about what's happening right now.
Right.
And sometimes you just gotta let it happen.
And you have this dissonance between, you know, the future, you know, the thing. If you put too much pressure on yourself for it, this future ideal becomes, you know, more closely tied to your identity than
Right, it's the only option at that point.
right, than who you are at that moment, and that's just a cognitive dissonance that you have to get over to
Absolutely.
to move forward.
Absolutely.
And you have to forgiveness is, I think, the first step.
And yeah, acceptance, forgiveness, very important together. Going forward, I wanted to talk a little bit more about proof of concept. I know we talked before the show about how you're kind of taking a step back about proof of concept and focusing more on you and your music, which is probably a very hard decision to make. One of those decisions that going forward is it's important to you, you know. But one of the questions I had about proof of concept is being a one-man recording. What are some of the things that help you not feel overwhelmed in the studio, whether you're tracking your own stuff and helping others record their own?
Yeah, so in a sense, as long as I've been doing it, it's been sort of like a one-man operation. Learning all the tools, of course, is just hunkering down. And if you want to check out some songs that are out by myself, it's under the artist name Perfumery, spelled like the place you make perfume, PURFUMERY.
And where is that?
On Spotify, Apple Music,
Cool.
all the stuff.
Very cool.
But yeah, so that was sort of, I guess, my first real deep, you know, go through where I recorded, tracked, wrote everything, mixed everything, and then did my best to, you know, master everything, right?
Without scrapping it and starting over completely.
Right. Before the self-doubt started, and when you're always confident when you begin something. But yeah, so that started as a one-man thing, and that's kind of what taught me how, you know, every step of the process was just kind of Googling everything along the way.
YouTube University.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first studio I worked at was called Mystic Dome Studio, and it was just this one guy. His name was John Thomas. He worked in Miami and then moved to Asheville because everybody just comes to retire in Asheville from Florida.
And from New York, it's like the middle place.
Yeah, it's like, oh, global warming's about to happen. Let's head to higher ground.
Let's go to the tropical weather.
So yeah, and there I basically was just an engineer there, and he didn't really want to run sessions, so I would be the one running sessions. I'd get everyone patched in and get Pro Tools opened and get everyone set up. And even, and it's interesting, like as you become like a solo engineer, unless there's like, someone coming in that is the producer for the song, you kind of default to being somewhat of a producer for the project. So yeah, doing that whole thing was a one-man show. And then as I started, building up my own studio, I had like proof of concept. And that's basically out of my single car garage, which it has like a loft to it. So it's not like a standard 10-foot ceiling. There's like a ladder on the side, and then it goes up to this loft. And I have drums on the loft, and then below the loft I have mixing console and all my gear and like keyboards, and then there's sort of space behind for like if someone were to set up their own drum set, which I have. I've recorded a drum set in there. It actually turned out pretty well, because there's high ceilings, so the space kind of allowed for that. But
I'm actually very surprised at how well the drums sound in here. I mean, you just add a little bit of reverb to it, and it sounds wonderful in this small space in the back. I think the mattress in the back helps a lot with like catching a lot of extra sound, so it can be a little bit more dry, so that gives you more time to put effects and stuff on if you want later. It's interesting, in this space alone with all the wood, you get a lot of mid-range, and so that's something that I'm definitely struggling with in this small space.
Yeah. That's interesting with the wood, yeah. But definitely having, I mean, you do kind of have like a lot of space because it's a bus. Buses are not. I think there's probably more space in here than like a small like regular bedroom, which people are a lot of recording drums out of. And as long as you kind of manage your like the boxiness of how that sounds, like I think probably the length of the bus probably helps you a lot with bass frequencies, right? Because it can extend all the way this way.
Yeah, I had the drums set up facing out at one point towards the rest of the bus from the back, and it was catching reverb off of the filing cabinet back there, and it gave this like really washy like metal room, like you were in a warehouse.
Gotta mic up that filing cabinet.
I did. And then I had one like live mic coming down the hallway, so it was catching this like tunnel essentially of this sound. So it literally sounded like you were in like an empty warehouse somewhere. It was very cool. Not something you want all the time, but it's something that you learn in your space, is how your space works and what works well for you, and you learn the little tidbits, the little glitter that makes your space yours, and what could potentially be a reason why someone wants to use that space over another one is purely based on the live sound of the space. So I think it's very interesting of like getting a grasp on your space. But how long have you been building out that studio there?
So it's been a little over, well actually no, it's been about a year and a half now.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean basically all gear has been on all levels in all like corners of the studio. Like I find like every time I've moved into a new place, it has to be set up like 8 different times before there's like a point at which like, okay, this works. So if you feel like something's not working in your setup, anybody's setup, just
tear it down.
Yeah, tear it down, start again. Like if you have the time, like it will save you time later on when you don't have to unplug this thing all the time, so you can plug this thing all the time and just flip-flop back and forth. If they, the most that you can maximize everything as the simplicity of that, the more creative you'll be in the space, and the smoother, recording sessions will go.
Totally. I think that's a huge struggle with a lot of musicians, recording musicians, that maybe have a space that they're using that isn't maybe set up the way that they intended, and now you're spending more time setting up than actually being creative, and that completely washes the experience away. And it has for me a few times, and that's why I've recently just been leaving the drum set out. Like, if we're not on the road for a long time or whatever, I'll just leave the drum set out. It hardly gets in the way. It's a 5-piece stage custom to 18-inch kick, and so it doesn't take up a whole lot of space, but it's so nice to have out, because what if I get that moment where I'm like, it's time to make music, and now I've got to go through the whole process of getting this bus ready to make music, and now I've lost it. So more recently I'm learning of like, how can I keep this set up so it doesn't get in the way, but it's also ready to go at any time, just full of ammo, ready to go.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and drums especially too, 'cause I used to have like set up drum mics every time to do that whole thing. But honestly, if you're just making your own music and you're recording drums, you can do a lot with just one mic. Trust yourself that you can do a lot with one mic. Spend a day just like moving one mic around to find the best spot for that one mic. And then if you need more mics, add more mics. But don't put one mic up and then two mics and then try to figure that out. Start with just one. I have this suitcase drum kit, and it's actually been the loft that I have my drums on, the like actual drums on, is like a huge mess right now because I just haven't been up there to the actual drums. But I have this suitcase drum kit, which is essentially like a hard shell suitcase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's I have a kick beater that's just a tennis ball at the end of a beater, a little piccolo snare, and like hi-hats. And I've actually found like just one mic. It's the Aston Spirit mic, sort of low, right by on the right side, kind of by the suitcase, pointed at the hats and the snare. It sounds great. Like the low end is there. You can't tell that it's a suitcase at all. And I just use that because it's so simple. It doesn't take up much space because it's just a suitcase. There's not this huge kick drum and it's this swarm of cymbals. And I'm mainly trying to like play like funky stuff on it. So kick, hat, and snare is pretty much all I need.
Totally. I think that like unless you're playing like ballads, you really don't need a bunch of toms anyway. So
yeah. Yeah, unless you're really going, hardcore where you need that huge tom sound, then I understand. You need like your stereo set up, and you need all the toms mic'd up so you can really drive home that crunchy bit. But yeah, focus on simplicity, and then if you need to, I'd say the moments when you take it to a studio outside of your own, those are the moments when you can like look up, okay, who actually who's good at recording drums, who has a good space for drums, and then now that you have the idea down, you can kind of take it somewhere else to expand it.
So the advice you had was use one mic, figure out that one mic, figure out where it sounds good, move it around the room. If you had to give kind of a cherry on top to that, what microphone would you say for like a beginning user to get, if it was going to be their one do-it-all microphone? But still sound great.
Yeah, so
it doesn't maybe not have to be budget, but maybe on kind of on the budget side, but not too much.
This
budget.
is gonna sound like some people are just gonna sigh over this, but like an SM57 like, is you can if
so the 57's the instrument mic.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, sure, SM57. There's actually a video of like this. I forget what studio it is, but there's a master class where they have someone playing drums, and they have the participants of the master class like set up 57s, and their objective is to put just their one mic in the position that they think they can capture the whole drum sound and the room sound really well. So yeah, if anyone wants to, I forget what the name of it is. If you look up, I necessarily don't know what you would look up.
What was the consensus on that? Where was the placement on that for the drums? I would think overhead in front, about 3 feet overhead and 2 feet back is what I would think.
Yeah, I guess kind of like guesstimating sort of like right behind your
head.
Right
behind.
Is that what you're? Or is that
I was thinking in
forward.
Front.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's I assume it's really kind of subjective because you have
Sure.
to be in the room too,
Yeah.
to figure out what what things to avoid, in addition to what you're trying to pick up. But I know like there's a butt mic was one of them where it's the microphone's maybe like 3 feet behind the drummer, just right at butt level.
Okay.
There's sort of like over the shoulder mic.
You're
which is
definitely
a good-
getting more attack on the bass drum by going behind, I feel like, than in front, because you're getting the more of the mallet hitting the head than
Going
the
in front,
air
yeah,
coming
right.
out.
Right, but then it's like what, and it's sort of the style of music too. Like, do you want like an attack forward, or like, do you want the bass drum to kind of just sit heavier, less?
You heard it
More
here.
just hitting the pulse of
First
it, right?
person to ever say it. It's a SM57. That's the one mic. Go get you one. They're $100. Sometimes 80.
Don't go to Guitar Center.
Literally, you can get them anywhere. Get you a used one for $50. You can beat them to death.
A bonus microphone, I'd say you could probably get it pretty cheap. There's omnidirectional dynamic microphones, which you can actually mod a 57 to be. If you take, I forget actually how to do that, so I'm not gonna
That's
tell
pretty
people
cool.
how to try how to do that. But yeah, look up how to
Get a
make it.
57. Don't use it yet. We're going to take it apart. This is how to do it.
There's a way to make it omnidirectional. And Omni mics are really cool on drums because you can put it right over the kick drum, sort of in between, if you have the 2 rack toms, sort of kind of centralized in between the snare and the rack toms and the kick drum. And its proximity to the kick drum will actually pick up a lot of that bass in that attack. And because it's omnidirectional, it's picking sound up from everywhere, right? So, yeah, that's another one. But there's Electro Voice. There's old Sennheiser mics. There's a lot of old like dynamic microphones,
Mhm.
and even like high Z microphones. Those are ones
Okay.
where it like has an instrument cable on the end.
Mm-hmm.
Which those are, a lot of those are omnidirectional. But that could be a good cheap lo-fi thing.
Cool. Let's see here.
Yeah, what was the question before this?
We were just kind of talking about being a one-man recording, how to not be overwhelmed when you have so much going on. For me, it was focus on the sequence that works for me, which is drums, bass, then guitar. And that kind of helps me kind of stay in the groove without kind of losing it. And also just like having everything, I think we both kind of touched on it, was like having it ready. Like,
yeah,
just like having it ready to
gonna
go.
kill the vibe
Mm-hmm.
than having to get it ready.
Yeah. Fully put together a drum set, tune it, have it ready to go. Like, there's your hour that you were going to spend being creative.
Yeah. And then also, I think, not getting caught up so much in the details.
Sure.
You're not, if you enter your creative space, no matter what you're doing creatively, and you have the thought process of like, this is gonna be it. It's gonna make me so much money. It's gonna make me famous. Today's the day. That's a terrible mindset to have, because that's so much pressure on like your creative flow state. And even if that's not like verbatim what your thought process is, that sort of still seeps in. If you're like, okay, I'm working on the drum track, okay, that's cool, okay, I work on the bass track, I want this one note but I can't get it, I can't get this one note, and then you put it away after that. Find something simpler, like keep the process moving. I'd say keeping momentum to finish things will get you in a better flow, and the consistency of that will help tremendously.
You can't go complex. I mean, you could, I guess, but you can't go complex without learning the simples first. You can't like run without learning to walk first. So I think, get something very standard down. Get a couple snare hits, some hi-hats, something very simple down, and then move on to like a happy 3-chord progression on the bass or something. Like keep it simple, and then you can always come back and add the glitter. You can always come back and add the when you've kind of like got your ropes down, I think.
Yeah, and like maximizing, what's already down there. Like if you Bob Ross, no happy accidents, or no, only happy
Oh,
accidents.
no.
No happy accidents. But yeah, when something's there that, I heard recently that people that are most likely to be successful creatively are people that have a default to an open, state. They're open to new experiences.
Mm.
So if you put something down and it's, if it sort of rubs against you, and it's not just like I just hit the wrong note, I'm gonna go back and fix that real quick. If there's something that rubs against you, be open to the experience that, you can build off of that.
Absolutely. Very good point. So, knowing that you're taking a step back with proof of concept, what is it that you're focusing on now?
Yeah, so I was like last year, I was really, really trying to get out of the day jobs and full time, do the recording thing. And that was really just not working for me because I realized that I didn't have enough time to really figure out a lot of things that I needed to figure out at the time. And I just really couldn't fathom like having a career. And when you're building a business, that's just it's so much time and work that you're putting into it. So it's very important to have, a lot of your personal work sorted out, where that's not going to get in the way of what you're ultimately trying to do. So
Right, and a lot of times, almost always, we can't just stop getting paid. So we're still
Right.
working a full-time job. We're still trying to make our family and friends happy by spending quality time with them, and then you're adding a business on top of that, and that can fully tip the scale of like, okay, I'm doing way too much right now. We've talked a little bit about advice that we would give aspiring people in recording, and we talked a little bit about how it can be overwhelming to start a business. And now I think that we should go into like one more like true piece of advice that you maybe give someone else that's maybe like putting down the guitar or like whatever, taking a step back, how to maybe like continue to be creative even when they're feeling like down, like they can't keep going.
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, it's okay to take space from
Very good point.
your art, and something like even saying this, like it rubs with me because I think a lot of my own personal value I put in art, but you are not your art. There's just like you are not your thoughts, you are not your art. So not getting your ego caught up so much in oh, I'm not putting out anything, or I'm not creating anything. That can be your life purpose for sure, but that's not necessarily who you are, to the extent of it defines your worthiness to be, right?
Right. It's a very good point.
So coming from that point, I guess really just try to fall in love with it again, or and maybe try is not the right word, but allow yourself to fall in love with it. And sometimes in love you need to take space to
Absolutely.
define love again, right?
Absolutely. And to respect it again.
Right, absolutely. And because there's just so many things psychologically we can get caught up in when we're trying to make art, especially in a society where we have to, where there's a pressure to sell art, to monetize.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Something that's very personal and vulnerable. It's such a weird like meat grinding kind of business of especially the music industry for sure.
Trying to monetize anything can truly rip the creativity out of it, especially when you like find something that and it might not even be your thing. It's just what you happen to make that one day, and people love it. And now you're stuck like making that one thing for the rest of life, or you feel stuck in that cage of like, well, I've got to keep making these like graffiti art things because like that's what people want out of me, you know. That's what's
Right.
selling, so I have to keep doing it, you know. Instead of like pushing that creative envelope, you're now stuck in everyone else's groove because you've decided I'm going to monetize this and that's it, you know. And that strips the creativity straight out of you.
Yeah, for sure. And just focus on, or not even focus on, but like you just dig it.
Just dig it.
Just dig it. Yeah, just enjoy it and love it. And if you don't love it, take some space from it. You can love some other things. That's okay.
Like Rue.
Yeah.
Just like hold her like a baby.
This is the moment that you need the video podcast.
Yeah, I
See
know.
this curled up little hound dog whimpering 'cause she saw some cats and 'cause she's a little wet 'cause it's raining outside.
I've really learned to enjoy the rain on the roof.
It's
Like
nice.
living in here, like we've had a couple nights where it felt like a tsunami was coming through, and you could hear like the wash hit
Yeah.
from the front of the bus to the back, and it's just like intense. Yeah, I'm excited to get back on the road, but it feels really good to be here focusing on my music now, because I think that I was so focused on driving to the other side of the country and driving us between camp spots and like whatever that a lot of times when even if I felt distracted, felt creative, I was distracted or behind the wheel, and my hands are busy, you know.
Right, yeah.
So I'm very grateful to be back in Asheville for a little while, and even like coming up over the mountains was such a really great experience. After being on like flat land and by the beaches, it felt so good to see the mountains again. It was like, oh, that's that place I call home. Like for some reason I can't get past it. Like I found a really awesome feeling here. And it might not be Asheville, it could be like the surrounding areas, you know, just the Pisgah National Forest. I think it's just a really, really beautiful area. But essentially the goal for Cream Based Bus is for us to find a place that we really, truly love, and a place we want to settle down and have a small homestead. And we want to create an art residency. We want to give the opportunity for a lot of creative minds to maybe get that break from their everyday life, to get away from that and have less distraction and really get their art out, and maybe have a place where they can learn to be more sustainable or learn to be better at their craft, and have people available to them that maybe would help them get their music out and record it, or teach them ceramics because that's something they've always wanted to do but haven't had the space to do it. And so I really want in my personal life, my now like life's goal, I think right now, and it could always change, but is to facilitate creativity for others. I think growing up I wouldn't say I wasn't creative, and I wouldn't say I wasn't given the right tools, but I didn't have the right mindset to get invested in music or art or anything other than just like what was happening around me. And so I think that being able to facilitate that hopefully one day for my kids, but also for other people, is like a huge goal in my personal life. So art residency, Cream-based art residency, Cream-based everything. And I'm really excited. I don't know if I have enough time to do it, but I would love to have a concert here with art vendors, food vendors, everything. I'm still kind of working out the kinks, but I've already got Damn Fine Audio wants to donate audio equipment for the event, which is incredible. I've got a few artists that are already down, a venue that might be willing to facilitate the whole thing. So it's kind of putting itself together without me even doing anything, but I think in the next coming weeks I really have to like buckle down and get some solidification on it, because it's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be awesome. And I think that's something that I want to do every time we're in town. If I come to visit, I want people to be like, "Oh shit, the Cream-based bus is coming back in town." Like that means something crazy is about to happen, you know? That means everybody's getting paid. We're all making
paid.
Yeah. So this has been incredible. I want to go ahead and just say again, this is the Cream Based Bus doing Cream Based Sessions, creative art and music based bus. Today our guest was Josh Vanderveen. Really incredible man, working on his own albums now, working on his own stuff, which is really cool. Proof of concept, recording. It's cool to see anyone making home studios as elaborate as yours. It's really inspiring, especially with me being on this in this small space. It's really cool to see how you can make some really kick-ass stuff in whatever space you're in, you know.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Is there anything else that you want to say or promote? I know you talked about where to listen to your music on. Was it Spotify and stuff?
Yeah. So my artist name, until I totally change projects, which is a potential.
Always.
Is called Perfumery, like the place you make perfume. PURFUMERY. I think I spelled that right.
Cool.
And then you can follow my like artist kind of stuff whenever I happen to post on Instagram at Perfume Recording. And then Proof of Concept Recording is sort of like my studio Instagram.
Cool. Very cool. We'll play us out with one more song. And honestly, it was a pleasure to have you here. It's good to see you again.
Know what to play for the next one. Yes, these are pages flipping that you hear because I can't memorize lyrics even though I was in theater.
I don't know if I set up that gear all right. You might even be able to hear it.
Sweet, I didn't do this one. Okay. Rue, you're going to be a music stand. Good hound dog.
Thanks again for joining, you guys. Stick around for more musicians, more artists, more love of the creative world.
Yeah. Let's get this tuned up real quick. Close enough. Facing the end of the world, leaving more each day. Falling flightless bird, comets in her way. So much that I pursue, never satisfies. Colorful crayon doom outside the lines. Let the time go by for a moment, it'll soon be over. If you're worried friend of the future, I'm here by your side. But I'm terrified it'll catch me even as I ride. If the sun goes down in the morning, it'll be alright. Chocolate covered straws in a bubblegum age. Analyze your flaws now that you're on a stage. Too much an appetite for self-destruction. Words trapped with dynamite to trigger an eruption. If we let the time go by for a moment, it'll soon be over. If you're worried friend of the future, I'm here by your side. But I'm terrified it'll catch me even as I ride. If the sun goes down in the morning, it'll be alright. Eating up the world with apple pie. Swallow a sugar pill with a glass of rye. One day we'll watch the sun as it dilapidates. We had a hell of a run in this big old place. Just as we let the time go by for a moment, It'll soon be over. If you're worried, friend of the future,